I'm Phil Larivière, and I've been a paramedic since 2003. And in 2016, I left the streets and took a instructor position teaching paramedicine, both the primary care and advanced programs. April 24th, 2014. I'll always remember that day. So that was the day of the call. And there was a moment when I first got there where it was almost like existential or something. It's like this is surreal. What is going on? Just very strange circumstances around the whole call. Not like other calls I hadn't been on had strange circumstances, but these were some of the strangest ones. And when you go for a dog bite call, but it's not a dog bite call. This is a mauling, and the guy's dead in front of you, and you're like, I don't like this. I came home at 2 a.m. after the end of my shift, and I did something I almost never do after a shift, especially a shift like this, is I went to the fridge and cracked a beer, and I sat here in complete darkness while my oldest slept in her crib and my wife was sleeping in her bed, and just like nursed it for like 2 hours till about 4 in the morning or something, until is basically collapsing from exhaustion. And so in one sense, I wasn't able to properly process that call. I was never given the opportunity. And instead I just buried myself in life.
Hey Milo.
I keep showing up to work. And around all that same time, I make decisions that bordered on really, and probably one would argue, were actually insubordinate to my superiors. Completely going over their heads and overruling them with no discussion and stuff like that. And the only thing I knew at the time that I could tell them is I'm dealing with things, because I didn't know what I was dealing with yet. So after that meeting, after I come home and with my wife, and I'm scared, and we're all scared, that's where all those shells, those walls, those coping mechanisms completely disintegrate. I've got nothing. I'm a shell of myself. And it's just, sorry. Right from the start, almost 2 years ago, when I did leave work, and I couldn't see myself at the time returning to, I had no idea where I was going, what was going to happen. I didn't know up from down, left from right. But right from the beginning, it was one thing that my wife and I, Jen, we didn't necessarily know what to do. We just knew we needed to do something. And so it was making phone calls that were very difficult to make. I had to have her actually make several phone calls for me and speak to, whether it was a supervisor at work or whatever, because I couldn't talk to anyone. I've seen successful suicides and unsuccessful suicides in my career. And so it's like, so if I really want to end this, how would I do it? I never got there, but boy, I sure felt close on some occasions. It was almost immediately, though, after that first or second session with EAP, where I broke down in tears. And in the counselor's experience, she couldn't give me a diagnosis, but she was like, to me, you've got all the signs of post-traumatic stress. I had to just fight to get better. The driver was my children and my wife. And so right from the start, I couldn't hide. I couldn't run as much as I wanted to. Life goes on. Mine was just on a bit of a pause. looking back now, that was just a huge disservice to the people getting into the profession and to our patients. And it obviously didn't come from a place of malice. It came from a place of ignorance, really. We didn't know better 15 years ago. From my colleagues was actually just a tremendous outpouring of support. They lost me for 7 months. I was completely off work. So now it's a conscious effort now to make sure I take time for myself, so that I can better take care of my kids and my wife. And I'm able to do that now. I don't think of myself as a victim anymore. I'm just a guy who got sick, and now I'm getting better. I am better.